You know, a lot of people heap so much praise on Giannis Antetokounmpo just for being a person that utilizes common decency, just when it comes to how he answers questions and whatnot. And sometimes it's at a level where you could tell that, okay, like y'all heaping too much praise, y'all being too idolatrous with it. The brother explains what failure is, what failure means to him, based off a question that he was asked about something specific, but he turned it into more of a conversation. And a lot of people, they didn't really take heed to that. Just when it comes to the specificity of the question, you was talking about the season. Wasn't talking about Giannis as a person, wasn't talking about the Bucks as a team, even though in particular, when it comes to just this season, they failed. Yes, they did. They didn't live up to expectations. If you don't live up to expectations, what is that? That's called failing. And it's okay. You learn from it. You grow. But the way he explained it, he made a lot of people get all like wide eyed and to the point where it's like they heaping so much praise on the dude. He had his moment of clarity, but it's not justified just based off of the fact that, listen, you were the number one seed, you lost to an eighth seed. I understand that you were hurt, which also speaks to it being about the team as a whole. Do you look at this season as a failure as a team? The Bucks did not win. They lost in the first round. Yes, Giannis was out, but he still played. So at the end of the day, it was a failure.
I just asked Bud the exact same question, but I'm curious for you. Do you view this season as a failure?
Oh my God. Okay, because I'm not that up. You asked me the same question last year, Eric. Okay. Do you get the promotion every year on your job? No, right? So every year you work is a failure. Yes or no? No. Every year you work towards something, towards a goal, right? Which is to get a promotion, to be able to take care of your family, to be able, I don't know, provide the house for them or take care of your parents. You work towards a goal. It's not a failure. It's steps to success. And if you've never, I don't know, I don't want to make it personal. So there's always steps to it. You know.
Where he said that he didn't want to make it personal, a lot of people heap so much praise on him as if that wasn't the right thing to do or as if he deserves a cookie or some shit. It's like, bro, why would you want to get personal about a question that's not that difficult to ask or that's not that difficult to understand just based off of the specificity of the question? Do you look at this season as a failure because you guys did not attain the goal? You guys did not reach the mountaintop. Therefore, you failed to get there. What is the definition of failure? We're going to get that because a lot of people seem to lose understanding of what words mean, man. Just something simple as failure. Because people get so caught up in somebody having a certain opinion that may be different from the norm to the point where, it's kind of like an aphrodisiac. I understand it, but at the same time, we still have to put things in proper perspective. Just when it comes down to the nitty gritty, just based off of the pragmatism aspect, like this is what failure means. We did not live up to expectations, therefore we failed. That's it. Like, and just measuring it by absolutes when it comes to basketball teams and what the common goal is mutually between every team, that is to win a championship. So, in technical terms, 29 other teams, they failed. But it's okay. You feel what I'm saying? Like like the media and people, they trying to make it seem as if using that word failure is like the worst thing. Oh, fail. Like it's okay to fail. You learn from failure. Just like bad experiences, you learn from bad experiences. You get better. So I kind of feel like the word failure triggered him. And you see, he got the orange sweater on. Orange represents enlightenment, and this was his moment of clarity.
Um, Michael Jordan played 15 years, won 6 championship. The other 9 years was a failure. That's what you're telling me. No, I'm asking you a question. Yes or no? Okay, exactly. So why you asking me that question? It's a wrong question. There's no failure in sports. You know, there's good days, bad days. Some days you are able to be successful. Some days you're not. Some days it's your turn. Some days it's not your turn. And that's what sport is about. You don't.
Yeah, and you failed. And you failed. There is failure in sports. There's failure in life, man. There's failure in life. That's just the reality of the situation, man. It's no shortcuts. Don't try to sugarcoat the shit. You as a number one seed, you being billed as the best player in the NBA with Drew Holiday, one of the best defenders, Brooke Lopez, one of the best, in the paint defenders, one of the best shot blockers, best interior defenders. You guys failed because the expectations were high for you based off of your personnel, who you had on your team, additions, so on and so forth. A lot of people picked them to go against the Bucks. Against the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. A lot of people picked them to go to the NBA Finals and win it all. They failed. This season was a failure. Yes, it was. And don't get me wrong, I do understand where Giannis is coming from, but in this context, just based off of the specificity of the question, it was just off. It was misplaced.
Always win. Some other people's gonna win. And this year somebody else gonna win. Simple as that. We're gonna come back next year, try to be better, try to build good habits, try to play better, not have a 10-day stretch with playing bad basketball. And hopefully we can win a championship. So 50 years from 1971 to 2021 that we didn't win a championship, it was 50 years of failures. No, it was not. It was steps to it, and
Technically it was. I understand the sentiment, but technically it was because they did not reach the goal that mutually every team, wished to attain. They did not reach that. So it was a failure. When the Golden State Warriors lost the playing game against the Los Angeles Lakers, that season was a failure for them. It was, even though they wasn't expected to win anything, it still was a failure because mutually every team has a common goal, just within technicalities. Now, if you want to, go the narrative route and say, oh, well, the Warriors, this and that, they were banged up. That was a season where they was just coasting. Listen, if they would have won that game, it would have been expectations for them. If they would have beat the Lakers and made it to the playoffs that year, I think they probably would have faced the Suns, I believe. There would have been high expectations for them to beat the Suns. Just like it was high expectations for the Lakers to beat the Suns, even though the Lakers were the 7th seed. So at the end of the day, it's always going to be expectations for professional teams, especially if you on a high stage such as the playoffs. Now, just in regards to the 7th seed Lakers going against the Suns that year, I believe the Suns were the 2 seed. Yeah, they was, obviously. Suns go against, the 7th seed always go against the 2. The Lakers were expected to win that series because of the inexperience of the Suns, as well as, the Lakers winning the championship the year before. So even on both sides, it's always going to be an expectation of success. There's always going to be an expectation of, this is what you reach to attain. And if you don't attain that, then yes, you failed. It's okay. Like, I'm taking this test. I wish to pass this test. If I don't pass this test, I failed. Me passing is a success. The opposite of success is failure. It's okay.
we were able to win one. Hopefully we can win another one.
So Giannis, he just had his moment of clarity there. I understand that he's upset after the loss, but at the end of the day, you guys did fail. You did not reach expectations, therefore, your season was a failure. And just going back to the question that was asked, like a lot of people miss the question in specificity. Was this season a failure? Do you look at this season as a failure, being that you guys did not reach expectations? I know that the reporter didn't ask that, Eric, but he pretty much asked that. Like, do you look at this season as a failure? And the question is apropos because they're the number 1 seed. They was expected to go to the finals. Giannis was top 3 in MVP. Come on, man. And you lose to the Miami Heat, a hobbled Miami Heat team, a 8th seed that barely made it to the playoffs. Like, yes, man, that's a failure, bro. It is. failure, lack of success, as well as the omission of expected or required action. You did not live up to expectations based off of the people that, have so much stake in what you do, just based off of the connections. Talking about like media heads who have prognostications and whatnot. They have something to do with these teams just based off of, branding and marketing and whatnot. So at the end of the day, these people, they prognosticate. Those are the ones who pick who's going to win the championship each year, who's going to win the MVP and whatnot. Experts or quote unquote experts, they have a lot of stake in the team and the player and vice versa. So when it comes to these people who have these expectations, it's something that I'm sure these players, they take heed to, and they take it serious. It's not like they look at these prognosticators as shit. You know what I mean? Like, so it's one of those things where you understand just in that world, yes, you did not live up to expectations. Those expectations were based off of not only media prognostication as well as the team, the play, how the team was gelling, how the team was playing, the players that they have on the team. Like Drew Holiday was an all-star after 10 years and not making an all-star team. So come on, bro. You can't, like, the Bucks failed this season. It was a failure, man. Once again, lack of success. They did not succeed. They lost in the first round to an eighth seed. The omission of expected or required action. Wasn't so much required, but people, they had expectations. And not just people, media experts, prognosticators, they had expectations. And some of them may look at it as this was required to a degree, just based off of the standard for the team. But at the same time, like, this is what it is. This is what failure is. Lack of success and not living up to expectations, not attaining a certain goal. Like I said, all 30 teams mutually have a goal. One team wins, so that means that 29 other teams, they did fail. But it's nothing wrong with that. I'm just speaking in technical terms. 29 teams did fail. Doesn't mean that those 29 teams aren't great teams or don't have the chance or potential to be great teams, especially the lower tier teams, because, even the top level teams, whether it be a runner up in the NBA finals, they always going to be there. So it's just one of those things where we understand we have to get into the technicalities just based off of the question at hand, the specificity of the question. Was this season a failure? Was the 2022-23 season a failure for the Milwaukee Bucks? Not the 21-22 season, not the 2021 season, not the 19-20 season, the 2022-2023 season. Was that a failure? Yes, it was, because they did not attain the common goal.
I just want to say one thing, two things that I loved. I love the MJ example he had, but also when he got all heated and you could see how passionate he was, and then he stopped himself with the reporter where he didn't want to make it personal and do the whole, like, I played, you didn't. He's just such a good guy.
Is it that serious? He's such a good guy. This is what I'm talking about when I say, like, the heaping praise. Like, y'all going crazy with it. It's not that serious. Anybody could stop themselves in the middle of a heated conversation and check themselves a little bit. It's not that serious for you to point it out as if he deserved points or some shit. He's such a good guy. Like, stop, man. And the reason why I'm emphasizing this is because when you read these comments on YouTube, a lot of these people, man, you could tell that they have no real guidance, bro. They don't really know how to put things in proper perspective about celebrities and whatnot, because they make these comments as if they know these people. Like, I don't have one hateful bone in my body of Giannis. Like, what are you talking about, bro? You don't even know him. How are you saying you don't have no hateful bone in your body of somebody you don't even know? You don't even know him. And you see these comments a lot, like, not even just these comments, like, it's like a microcosm of reality, like, in this world right now, where a lot of the people in this world, they pretty much live vicariously through celebrities, or not even just vicariously through like they really live in a world where they think they know these people. Like, you don't know this person. You can't say some shit like, well, you don't have no hateful bone in your body. You don't know them. You can't say some shit like, well, I know that this person is a good dude, or he's solid. You don't know these people, man. You only know based off of when you watch them on TV. You only know what they emit. You only go off of what they're emitting. You don't know them. That's the problem with this world, man. A lot of people are so simple-minded. And I don't even think people even understand how simple-minded they can be. That's what I mean. And not to call anybody stupid or nothing like that. Just being simple-minded, meaning like they don't really know how to gauge what they're saying, what they're projecting. It's like, bro, how can you say that this person you don't have a hateful bone in your body for if you don't even know them? You don't know them. Like, and what adds more to the simplistic aspect is the fact that you think you do because you going off of what he emits and you're used to watching him on TV and whatnot. That's hypnotism. That's the point of spell casting. A lot of people are under a fucking spell, don't even understand it. So that's the reason why a lot of people live vicariously through these celebrities and live in a bubble where they so driven by it because they under a fucking spell. They under a hypnosis. Talking about some shit. I don't have a hateful bone in my body for Giannis after this. Like, it takes just this for you to have a different opinion of him or to change your opinion. Like, it's just crazy, man. A lot of people, man, they like Eve, man. Even a lot of these niggas out here, they like Eve. So easily swayed. So easily swayed, bro. They don't have their own mind, bro. It's just crazy, man.
It's just hard not to root for him. But let me ask you this, Jay. Do you agree that the Bucks season was not a failure?
I wouldn't say it was a failure. I would say it was a disappointment. Mm-hmm. To me, it proves how hard it is to win a championship. And I really want to dig into this opportunity here because I think it's a chance to kind of...
It was a disappointment as well as a failure if we want to get technical. See, they're not tapping into the technical aspect of what it means to fail. It means lack of success. You did not live up to expectations. Stop trying to like coddle it just because that's what Giannis did. So you want to just do what Giannis did. No. That's why I like Stephen A's take, because he just got real with it. Like, listen, at the end of the day, it was incomplete on Giannis's part. It was misplaced because the question was asked of, do you look at this season as a failure? This season and the 2022-2023 season was a failure for the Milwaukee Bucks. If you look at how they were billed, how they were favorited, people prognosticated them to come out of the East. They did not. So they failed.
Redirect and change the conversation. If you're a high school coach or a college coach or coaching intramural basketball or any sport, you need to make your kid watch that video, right? Because we would never tell a young person, oh, you didn't win the season, you were a favorite, you're a failure. Imagine saying that to a 16-year-old kid or a 10-year-old kid.
You see what I'm saying? Like, they make it into something personal. It's a team game. It's a fucking team game. Giannis is, well, the point of this all is based off of team success. The NBA, they're not individuals who play one-on-one in the NBA. It's team versus team. So you can't use that. Like, this is how they always spin shit. This is what I mean about how people get away from the technicalities of what was asked. Was this season a failure for the team, for the Milwaukee Bucks? I know that the reporter didn't say that, but that's what he's saying. He's saying, what was this season a failure for the team, for the Milwaukee Bucks as a team? Why would he ask Giannis, do you think you failed? Like, no, man. It's about the team. So him using that is just corny. And I get it. Like, yeah, the sentiment was there. Like, Giannis' sentiment, I understand it perfectly. But it was just misplaced. Like, people getting all caught up in all the fuzzy shit. Like, the shit that sound cool. Fuzzy is the wrong word. But more so like the coddling aspect. It's like, bro, the word failure literally means to not live up to expectations. So he failed.
Right? Steps towards success.
Yeah.
Or they failed. Milwaukee, as a team, they failed this season. Like, steps towards success, things like that. I understand, like, the experience, the travel, the journey. I get all that, but at the end of the day, there's a goal that you need to reach. If you don't reach it, then getting there is a failure. It is. It doesn't take away from the appreciation that you have in regards to the journey and whatnot. But if you did not reach it, then you failed. We have to stop like softening shit. That's the problem. Motherfuckers want to soften shit up. No, let's be real. That's just what it is. You worked to attain the goal and you did not live up to that, so you failed. It doesn't take away from the journey. It doesn't take away from the work that you put in and whatnot. But still, at the end of the day, as a pragmatic thinker, you understand that there's a common goal and I did not reach that goal.
Michael Jordan has talked about this by saying, all my losses were moments or opportunities for growth, moments for me to get better, to increase the desire. Was the season a disappointment? Sure it was. Do I think that Milwaukee, if he hadn't gotten hurt, would have lost like that to Miami? No. But that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Yeah.
That's why we say there's luck from a player's perspective when Tom Brady goes for 6 or when Michael Jordan goes for whatever the number is guys are winning at a high level. So and I also kind of feel like media, we've created these absolutes. Well, it's either you do or you don't. You're a failure because that gets the clicks. That's a polarizing statement. That's something that millions of people hear, and fans and people who have their everyday jobs are like, yeah, you're right. His example was so great. Every year you don't get a bump or a salary raise. Are you a failure? Let's use failure for real things. Are you a failure?
No, I'm not a failure, but I failed at trying to attain that. That's the point, bro. That's the point, bro. Stop trying to muddy it, man. Stop. The point is, I'm training. I'm on this journey. I'm itching. I'm working to achieve a goal. If I don't achieve it, then I failed. That's just what it is. Does it mean that I'm a failure per se, or the act of me trying to achieve this goal, I failed at that act. I failed at attempting it. Like, come on. We have to understand the differences. We have to understand the nuances. We can't just get all up into certain trigger words like failure and not apply the definition to the word. Like, come on, bro. It's the same thing when people say ignorant. They use that word to try to make it seem like somebody's stupid or something, like, oh, you ignorant or you foolish. The term ignorance, it just means you don't know. Like, literally, perfect example. I was on the phone one time and somebody was just informing me on something, and I told him, and I said him because it sounded like a him, but the dude the person kept telling me it was a female, so it probably was a transgender or whatever. But that's neither here nor there. I had told him, I said, excuse me for my ignorance. And he was like, nah, don't say that. Don't say that. Like, nah, you didn't have to. Don't say that. I'm like, bro, like, I'm just telling you, excuse me for my ignorance because I don't know what you're telling me. I didn't know that. Like, so, and he pretty much had the assumption of ignorance as like you're being stupid. Like, excuse me, like he thought that I was saying excuse me for being stupid. No, like ignorance just means you don't know something. It just means lack of knowledge. I'm ignorant to what the fuck is going on in Brooklyn right now because I'm not in Brooklyn right now. That's literally what the word ignorant means. It's the same thing when people use the term like failure. They get caught up in the word and it triggers them. They don't really get into the specificity. Like failure means lack of success. You did not, live up to expectations. You did not achieve a certain goal that you wish to attain or you attempted to attain. You failed at it. That's all it is. Right? So like when you trying to make it seem as, oh, every kid should watch this and this and that, like you're not doing them no favors with this. Because they need to understand the nitty gritty, the truth. They don't need no sugarcoating shit. Like, no, we failed. There's no failure in sports. There is failure in sports. There's failure in life. Like, that's just the reality of the situation, bro. Now, I'm not saying that a kid can't take something for what Giannis said just based off of the sentiment, but at the end of the day, bro, if you want to be real about it, which is what the most helpful thing is, because that's what encompasses truth, then we understand that failure is a part of life. That's just the truth, man.
Failure as a father? Are you a failure as a parent? That failure is way more applicable to things like that, where I look to change the conversation around, was it disappointing? Sure, Stephen A. But is it?
You see, like, come on, bro. Like, y'all reaching with this shit, bro. Because that's not what was asked in the context of of this sports media. Like, come on, bro. He's not talking about Giannis as a person. He's talking about the team in this particular season, not the team in general. And I'm talking about just as far as this particular season. That's what the reporter asked Giannis, man. Like, I hate these ESPN motherfuckers. They always try to like muddy some shit up, man, or soften it up. Like, come on, bro, stop.
Opportunity for this team to grow? Are there things that Giannis can work on? Was it embarrassing? Yes, all these things are correct. Was it a failure? It wasn't a failure.
He was injured.
Wasn't a failure.
He was injured. You hear Bali like all extra and shit. This is what I be talking about these shows, man. It's so like soap opera-ish. It's so dramatic. And they don't do it any good by having these females have a take now. Like, it's just like, come on. Nobody want to hear you, man. He was injured. It wasn't about him. The point is the team. Did the team fail this season, this 2023 season? Yes, they did. Yes, he was injured, but at the end of the day, it's not cutting it. It's not justifiable because he still played. He still played in the last 2 games that they lost. He was still playing. So at the end of the day, don't give me that bullshit. And Tyler Hero was injured as well. So they played on an equal playing field. The Bucks were still a better team than the Miami Heat. They just still were, man. And plus, the Bucks won game 2 decisively. So come on, man. Stop.
Failure.
I would respectfully ask the both of you to listen to me right now, because I get where you're coming from. And I'm not uttering a negative or insulting word about what you just said. It's not directed at what you just said, because you're right with what you're saying. But your sentiments are misplaced. And let me explain why.
Just like I said, Giannis' sentiments were misplaced because he asked him a question that was based in the expectations that they had this season as a Milwaukee Bucks team. Not even as a franchise, just this rendition of the team.
Giannis wasn't wrong in terms of the season, but he was wrong in his answer about what happened in the postseason. The Milwaukee Bucks had the best record in the Eastern Conference. They had championship aspirations, and they went home in 5 games. That last game that they lost, and Giannis, I hope he's listening somewhere. I'm a huge fan of Giannis because I think Giannis is the kind of international superstar all of sports needs, because he never cheats. He always goes out there and competes at the highest level. He never cheats the game. He doesn't cheat himself. He doesn't cheat his teammates. He doesn't cheat the sport.
As far as we know, that man gained 50 pounds from 2018 to 2019. How you just gained 50 pounds out of nowhere? Come on, man.
Is an absolute treasure to the sport, but I even want him to understand this. You lose in a game 5, a closeout game of a playoff series. You go to the
50 pounds of muscle at that. Come on, man. Man on EPOs, PEDs allegedly, man.
free throw line and you miss 13 free throws. That's incredibly alarming. That is not something that is normal. Doesn't happen very often. Okay, the coach with his collapse, and we all know how great that Budenholzer is a great coach. He's a champion. The collapse over the last 2 games, that's problematic.
And maybe they lost because, Budenholzer's brother dying had a lot to do with it, just based off of the esoteric aspect from, what I deem to be something that was nefarious. And that's just my opinion of it. Like, Budenholzer's brother died during the series against the Miami Heat. And the Miami Heat, they represent death. Just on, the esoteric scale, just based off of the understanding of these teams on that front in regards to esotericism. Miami Heat represent death. That's why the Lakers won against the Miami Heat in the 2020 NBA Finals after, Kobe's demise.
How old some of their players suddenly looked in the throes of pressure, as the pressure waned in the waning moments of the previous two games. That matters.
Not to digress, that's why this year, 2023, I wouldn't be surprised if Miami makes it to the finals because the color red has been prominent this year. We already understand the Chiefs, they won a championship in the NFL, they wear red, as well as, all these different aspects of red, especially, the Grammys. You had that whole red aspect with Sam Smith just going into his veneration of the satanic element, the pagan gods, the worship of the Baphomet. But the color red was something that was prominent because red is associated with sin, is associated with death. And Rihanna, she wore the red at the Super Bowl. So I wouldn't be surprised if Miami goes to the finals, or maybe even Philly. Philly has a component of red. They wear the red home jerseys, the Philly jerseys, so you never know. Might be Philly versus Miami in the 2023 Eastern Conference Finals. But yeah, that red element was something that I noticed just based off of the connections in regards to Mike Budenholzer's brother and them going against the Miami Heat, because that was reported. Like, it was reported as that Mike Budenholzer's brother died in a car crash during Heat series. So obviously the esoteric component, just in my estimation or opinion, was there,
When you ask the question, yes, the reporter might have generalized it, and Giannis wasn't at fault for what he said because he said it. You remember what he said? You asked me this last year. So he remembered who the guy was, and that the question was identical, and he's attaching a different meaning to it. But
Exactly. Thank you, Stephen A. He's attaching a different meaning to it to justify losing. To justify losing, bro. There's no failure in sports. Yes, it is failure in sports. There's definitely failure in sports. Like I said, it's failure in fucking life. It's failure in everything. Like, and I appreciate this from a lot of brothers, those brothers who helped me. I'm trying to keep up with rent. If I fail to not make rent, like if I don't succeed in that, then I failed, man. If I don't pay, then I failed in trying to make rent. Like, come on, bro. It's failure in everything, man. You walk into the damn store and somebody stopped you and tells you about some shit to the point where maybe you gotta like change locations because of an emergency based off of that conversation that you may have from somebody stopping you. You failed to go to the store. You failed to make it to the store. That's all it is, bro. It's okay.
point is, if you had asked, when he asked the question about Michael Jordan, asked Michael Jordan, did he fail? He would have told you yes. We don't think he would have because you can't win every year. Nobody does. But he would have told you he failed. Ask Kobe. You know him.
That doesn't make any sense. Stephen A. just said he would have told you he failed, but he just said he doesn't think he would have told you. Like, what are you talking about? It don't make any sense, bro. But yeah, man. At the end of the day, failure is a part of life. Failure is a part of sports. Failure is a part of everything we do, man. Failure is it's pretty much the antithesis to success. They both work on two different planes, but they're one and the same in regards to the spectrums. I put that wrong. I'm not gonna say they're one and the same, but you guys understand where I'm getting at, just based off of the understanding of the spectrums, like the polarities. They still work off each other. Failure and success, they work off each other. That's what I mean.